Hey there, welcome to the Alexa Z Show, because life should be fun and meditation should be easy. In today's episode, we're going to shed some light on multitasking. Maybe you're tired of this. Maybe the old monotasking word is getting to be a little blasé. But if you're like me, repetition is necessary. Sometimes you just forget these things, so stay with me. If you are like me in any way, shape, or form, I used to, and perhaps I still do, wear the badge of honor when it comes to multitasking. I guarantee any interviewer over the past 30 years who asked me the question, what are your 3 top qualities? Multitasking was one of the top 3 because I thought they would really value that. Multitasking didn't mean 2, it could have been 10. I was hands down the best. I got older. We're all getting older. I would still say I was good at it, but suddenly I didn't seem to get as much done as I used to. Distraction was key, mind wandering was rampant, and more often than not, by the end of the day, the top 3 on my to-do list were not completed. I now know those top 3 are the 3 that move the needle. I've got to make the top 3. Well, guess what? Multitasking is a thing of the past. The new cool kids slow down, get more done. They're more accurate. Down goes the stress and up goes the productivity. Sound like you need a dose of that? Well, then stay tuned. You don't believe me? Do you think you're the only one or one of the chosen ones when it comes to being a really good multitasker? Well, you should stay tuned in too and pray that I prove you wrong. I mean, you should be psyched. Multitasking is not fun. And most of us out there are really trying to make the needle move. So stay tuned, and while you're taking a little break, please hit subscribe, leave me a little review, make me happy. I'm doing the best I can, as are you. A show for those who want to meditate or maybe tried, loved it one day, hated it the next, or maybe forgot why the heck they're supposed to do it anyway. Well, you landed on the right show. Do you still find yourself wishing you had more time, waking up tired, wanting to take back what you just said to your boss? Seriously, don't you just want to spend a peaceful, productive day with time left to learn the guitar and start that $1 million side hustle? Follow me at alexazmeditates.com/podcast and let's make it happen. Hey there, Alexa Z here. First, let me say that if you're driving, walking, washing dishes, folding towels, and also listening to me, that's okay. You can do rote tasks in multiples. I can wash the dishes and listen to the news, no problem. I kind of like to ignore the news anyway. My motto is to keep it simple. So let's make this short and sweet so you can go forth and get some stuff done. Plus, facts are facts. You can't argue how the brain works. Maybe over time, they come up with more and more information, but this one, it's pretty hands down. It is what it is. If you're splitting your resources or splitting your attention on multiple things, this is where you start sliding down the slippery slope to inaccuracies. Multitasking isn't doing multiple things at the same time. It's actually content switching. The brain does not like to go forward, start doing something, and then if you start something else, you have to put your brain in reverse. Maybe it's just for a split second. Put it in reverse, forward to the next task. Back up, go forward. Back up, go forward. And if you do, the brain is exhausted, error rates go up to like 50%, and it takes twice as long to get something done. Remember the old saying, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person? I do agree. But now I have reformatted that thought, not just ask a busy person. It's fine as long as that busy person moves slowly. I don't mean like a sloth. I mean undistracted from one task to the next. Your brain is never doing 2 things at the same time. It's just switching back and forth. And as you switch back and forth, it's almost like there's residue left over. So it's like back, forth, and it's like everything's all mucked up. And if you think about it, like when did you multitask the living hell out of the day and come out feeling great and that you crushed it? Unless you were literally just ticking off, I cleaned the bathroom, the kitchen, and my office. I mean, the big stuff, it's not going to happen. Your brain has to go through a process, so things need to wander their way through all the parts of our brain. So something as simple as like, hey, I want some ice cream. Well, the anterior part of my brain is setting that goal or that intention. Then the posterior part of the prefrontal part of my brain, that's going to help the rest of the brain go to the freezer, get it out, blah, blah, blah. Now that's a silly example, but imagine if you're doing that over and over again with really important things. What if you're constantly in that part of your brain going, I'm going to set big goals and intentions, and then going off to the other parts of your brain to, recruit all those things needed to get it done, but you're doing it in multiple fashions. It doesn't make sense. We get such a high off wanting to check things off. We're just like, we have all of our tabs open on our computer. We have all our email open. We have our email open and our instant messaging, and we're working on something, and then we're popping into our emails to answer them. We don't even have a plan to do any of that stuff. It's not like, I'm going to rush over to my emails and I'm going to I know exactly what I'm going to do with every single one that pops up. It doesn't make any sense. And I absolutely guarantee if you're on vacation and you're like, okay, I got some work stuff to do. And you were like, okay, I'm going to be with my family and then I'm going to check my emails at 3:00. The whole day you haven't looked at them because you've been out ziplining or going to the beach or something. And at 3:00, you looked at your emails, banged through them, did what you had to do, and then went back to the beach. It took you probably 1/8 of the time than it did if you were at work or at home or wherever, popping into your email every 2 minutes, popping into your email, scrolling Instagram, grabbing onto Facebook. Oops, let's go back. We've talked many times about how much the mind wanders. So let's put all this together. The mind is wandering 47% of the time. You're switching tasks all the time. You wonder why you don't get anything done. And if you end up doing 3 tasks, I think they say you forget at least one of them. If you've ever learned to juggle, it's so hard. I have tried to learn to juggle, and I really want to, because juggling is a lot like mindfulness. Because even though you're switching and grabbing the balls that you're trying to as they're floating around up in the air, you must concentrate on one ball, get it in your hand before you can throw the next ball. I really do want to learn to juggle. I think it's a really good mindfulness thing for practice. But what in the multitasking gets affected? Everything. It decreases your accuracy and it totally crushes your creative thinking. How are you going to be creative if you're multitasking all the time? You never get in the groove. If I'm going to sit down and write this podcast, I can't be doing a million things. Well, I could, but it would take all day. I got to get in the groove. I got to get in the flow state. And if I'm not in the flow state and I'm trying to write this podcast and I'm doing 10 other things, I just get anxious. I get anxious thinking about it. And it totally hurts your short-term memory. And if you heard the last podcast, I want my short-term memory. Okay, this is an old one, but it is fun. Write down, unless you're driving, if you're just sitting around monotasking, write down, I can multitask. I can multitask. Stop. Go to the next line. Write the numbers 1 through 13. Time yourself on this if you can. Okay, now go back and write, I can multitask and 1 through 13 at the same time like this. I, 1. C, 2. A, 3. You know what I'm saying? Go up and down, like I and numbers, up and down, up and down. Time both of them. You don't even have to, because unless you want to really try to prove me wrong, which would be kind of funny, or use it on somebody else, it's impossible. You're not going to do both and come up doing anything quicker or anything more accurate. So where does meditation come into all of this? Such an easy one. Thank you so much for asking me. So when you're meditating, you're training your brain to focus on one thing. You're training your brain to focus, if it's on your breath or your mantra or your body, right? The brain and the body are working together. I'm so excited. We now know, science knows we have a body and a mind and an energy system. And we feel so good when it's all in sync. So when we're meditating, we're training the brain. We're training it to ignore distractions, right? Let's just go with breath. I'm just aware of my breath, not controlling my breath, just being aware of it. here comes the distraction. It's a sound. It's a thought. Notice it, be aware, and come back to whatever your focus is for that meditation. Again and again and again. So what does that do? It helps with all of your neural pathways. It helps with all of your reactivity. So suddenly, when you are doing, or when you do have to do multiple things, it's a lot easier because distractions are always coming at you. Somebody is always trying to get your attention, or something is always trying to get your attention. Well, in a very short period of time, every day in your meditation, it's your little tiny exercise inside of you. Somebody recently called it inner size. I think that's kind of corny but cute. You're doing your little inner size, and you're training your brain to not get overwhelmed by those distractions. It's a piece of cake. I promise you, and I don't promise a lot. Keep up with your daily meditation. Keep a journal if you want. Prove it to yourself. Meditate every day. Notice how much you get done on those days. Go for monotasking. Bag the multitasking. I'll include a couple of cute little articles and some fun stuff in the show notes if you don't believe me. Thank you so much for joining me. Please join me next week. Even if you know the topic, we always need to be reminded. Go forth, monotask. Peace out, my friends. Namaste.